Okay, so folks, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up with SketchUp. And we're going to then, try to get any kind of final AutoCAD questions done. We'll take a break and then we'll just go over. Some people are having a little problem with model space, paper space. So we just want to go over that so that your final printout comes out correctly. So let's take a look with the SketchUp file, and I tried. I've been fooling around with it a little bit, but I did a few very basic things. So let me share that with you, and that will be share screen. And okay. So everyone, I hope, is seeing now by the basic SketchUp model. This is about as far as we got. I may have gone a little further with doing a few more openings. And we'll continue to do that. We want to get a bunch of other openings in this. And the overall procedure is that we're going to go through the openings, and then we're going to turn the walls, the exterior walls, into a component. So that will not affect the stuff around it. And then we're going to work on the roof. And my hope and goal is to complete the roof today. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have two things due Sunday. One of them is just however far you've gotten with the SketchUp model. I just want to see where you are. And then you're doing your final submittal of the AutoCAD drawing as a printed PDF. And those are both due this Sunday. So everyone's clear on that? So an intermediate SketchUp file, send me SketchUp. Please, I will SketchUp 2017. I'll go over how if people have a more recent version, save it back. You just go to File, Save As, 2017, SketchUp 2017. It'll just make my life a lot easier as I review the drawings. So I just want to go over a little bit here. I did a little bit with the ground, the component that I gave you. I wanted to make it a little more visible. Next week, we're going to come up with a custom hatch pattern that's going to mimic the boardwalk that exists in the model. For those of you, just to refer to this boardwalk, okay? And this is the one interior space. So in SketchUp, what I did was I went back to the model, and this floor, the base is a component. So I double-clicked, and that opens the component. And can you see, you should do this as well. If you look on your screens, is everything else that isn't the component is sort of gray. And what I'm going to do now is, and this should be the same on all of your computers, I'm going to go to Materials. It may be a little bit different on the Mac. I'm going to go to Asphalt and Concrete. And I am going to do, just for a contrast, from what I can tell, looking at the one photo we have of the interior, it looks like the floor is a smooth finished concrete slab. That's this one image here. If I look at this, I can't quite tell. It's a little hard to make out. It looks like it's just a concrete slab that's been finished. Okay, so back to SketchUp. So I already applied the material, but I'll show you how to do it. So I double click, and then I click on the surface that I want to apply the material to. I go to the drop-down arrow, and there should be a category of asphalt and concrete. You may or may not have this. Your results may vary. And I'm going to go for polished concrete old. And I'm going to drop a paint bucket on it. And that has put a texture on that floor. It's very subtle. How many of you, your SketchUp models are different colors? They're both blue and white. You can just raise your hands. I can't see all of you, but mine was. So what I did was I went to the walls. I triple clicked them. I went to colors, named, and I picked snow. And I got the paint bucket, and I'll just paint it hot pink just to give it a contrast, and then I'll do another color. So you could do this. I'm going to do this, 0010 snow. Why did I even do this? Well, it just helps to distinguish this, you know, which is which object. It also is, if we get around to this, I'm hoping a little bonus that will come up later is I may be able to show you how to do, we're going to do rendering through Photoshop, but I'm going to show you how to do computer rendering. It's a good idea, in my experience, with SketchUp to apply materials. It'll just make distinguishing different elements clearer, and it'll make, if we get into a computer rendering, it'll make it a lot easier. If things are defined in material and they're not just the default white or blue. And once you apply, yes.
And I guess we apply the material after we have all the openings in the walls, right?
You don't have to wait.
Oh, okay.
You can do it now, like I just did. I don't have all the openings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the openings. I'm going to do them quickly. It's repetitive, but that's really important. We want to get those, and I'm just going to do this in real time. So if you recall, what we do so we can see hidden geometry is there's a little feature up here called X-ray. And so I turned on X-ray, and that lets me see through the walls. And for some reason, I had more success pushing out from the inside, so I'm pivoting this model around. And I'm going to draw a line. And I wish there was a way of speeding this up, but I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to start here. I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to make sure the line turns blue and it says on face. And as I do that, I'm going to type 7 feet 7. And I just want to make sure, yeah, that did go where I wanted it to go. And I tracked off of this point down here, and that looks pretty good. I'll keep doing this. So, and then I'm going to turn off. And there's this little thing that you can tell the difference in SketchUp. If a line bisects a face, I just drew a line there. When it bisects or cuts a face, it gets to be a very fine line, like this. If it doesn't split a face, it's a thicker line, like this, which I'll delete. Oh. Right-click and erase. Okay, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this through, and it's going to say offset limited to 9 inches, and that's just what I want. And that creates the opening. This is actually kind of nice because all of the openings reach all the way down to the floor. This is a nice product. It makes it easier than if it was typical windows, which are mounted with the wall, with wall beneath them. But that's the way this is. All the openings start and windows start at the floor. Okay, let me do that. We have a few more to do. I'm just going to do this. Repetition can help. So each time I'm going to switch back to X-ray view.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I already did my walls and the
Yes.
openings and the inside walls. On the inside walls, I don't see any openings on like where the bathrooms are supposed to go and stuff. I don't have to do that, or?
Yeah, well, there's a little dirty secret about computer modeling is we're never going to see the bathroom.
Okay.
So
I just wasn't sure, you know, I was like, I don't see the openings here on the X-ray, so okay.
So we're not going to model that. It's a student, it's a really good question because you think, well, you should model everything. It's there in the building, but we'll never see it. Now, if you do get an assignment in your design studio where a bathroom is an important part of the design, then you should show it. But a lot of students do that. Like they'll model a bathroom in 3D, in SketchUp, but we'll never see the inside of that bathroom. So, that's, and we're not going to look inside these. So we're actually just going to make a big box for those guys. And yes, I will confess, I didn't completely finish my drafting for before I moved into SketchUp. I
was just trying to see how I was gonna track the doors because I think we talked about this last time, but I just remembered now that you mentioned it again that we weren't gonna do the bathroom. So as I was doing it, I was like,
yeah,
I'm not sure.
No, and you really have to think about that. What's important or is a little bit different in computer modeling. Well, a little bit. I think of when I do computer modeling, it's like a stage set. Like if you're making a set for a play or a set for a film, you put all your efforts into what people see and then you leave the rest alone. You don't even do them. So this building is going to look very convincing from the angles we're going to look at it, but we'll not see those bathrooms. I also have a little bit of a difficulty. There's only one interior photograph. So everything we do with the interiors is going to be pretty speculative. So a lot about this design is this pristine white building, the circular opening over the courtyard, the boardwalk, and then the dramatic desert landscape that is all around it. So the interior spaces are not so important. So let me do this. SketchUp should remember. I can just keep pulling it up till it says on face 7'7", and the line should be blue. And I can go over, and I'm going to hover over that. And that may not work. I'm at too sharp an angle. Okay, let me show you what I would do when I'm not certain. I'm going to pick this, I'm going to go up, and then I'm going to go over. So I stopped the line command and then I started it again. And I'm going to push this through. Now this one. And I should be doing it without X-ray view. Okay. So I just have a few more openings to do, and then we'll get into, we'll do the benches, and then we'll do a few other elements, and then we'll start working on the interior.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So the door opening, just to be accurate, is 7'7".
That's what I was able to pull off of the information we had off of the scanned images.
Okay.
All of the openings, at least the exterior wall openings, are 7'7". They all align.
Okay. And when you click offset, you said it was 9 inches.
It'll automatically figure it out. That's the wall thickness, which I believe we established was 9 inches.
Okay.
But you can push it. You could type 9, or you could just push it into the other element. Okay. So I like to toggle these settings off and on, so I'm going to go back to X-ray. Do this. I'm almost done. I did a few along the way. Okay, so line, endpoint, 7'7". Let's see if it picks up the snap. Yes, it did. Yeah, it'll say offset, typically offset limited to 9 inches. Okay, I just have 2 more exterior openings to do, here and here. And then there are a couple that I've already done. So let me finish this. Okay, so this is the snack bar. So turn line, X-ray view, up. I like the way SketchUp remembers. And I hover, go down to that line, and I can hover up. If this doesn't work for you, it's a little tricky. That saves some time. And I just push that through. The other technique, let me see. We just have one, I think I have one more major opening. Yeah, this one here. Okay. So I'm going to go up, make sure it turns blue. It's going to remember 7'7". I'm going to hit the return, hit the escape key. I'll draw another line. And what I'm looking for, so I know it's vertical, is it turns blue. It tells me it's on the blue axis. And then this, it's a little faint, but you can see these 2 dots. It's showing them that it's figuring out an alignment, a little bit like object snap tracking in AutoCAD. And I know I'm successful when I get a line that is light. Okay, so let's see. I think I have, yeah, all the principal openings. I'm going to turn shadows on again. I just like it. It gives it a little more realism. Right now it looks pretty schematic, but so be it. Okay.
Michael, could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So just going back to, I forget whose comment it was about the bathroom. So what don't they have to do exactly?
Basically this, well, my approach is all this, like what is typically called servant space. Back here, the lounge, the restrooms here, and this is the storage area. We can just do those as boxes. So they don't have to do those.
Just the walls and the doors and nothing else?
Yeah, they could put in the doors, but you know, again, it's like it would be good to have the doors in there, but they'll just be very, very simple.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're not going to.
I put the doors that they were on the drawing already, and in the back area, I just left it without the doors because they weren't like, I couldn't trace it to where the doors were. So I put whatever was on the drawing already, the openings.
Okay. So let's see. A couple things that are left before we get out of the walls. The benches. And they're in these corners here. And let's see. Okay. I'll turn shadows off. It's really funny because all of the photos of this building don't show any of the 3-foot doors. There's one image where this door is just at the edge of the image. So I'm almost tempted to not even worry about them very much. But we'll look at those. So anyway, the benches. And go into this. And I didn't dimension them, but I actually recalled that the seat height is 18 inches. You trust me on that. I know you guys trust me, I hope. And I'm going to go back to my SketchUp model, and I'm going to use double click on this. Okay. Now I've got to do something else here. Never mind. Excuse me. I have to use now the line tool to trace over the where the benches are. So I'm going to do from here to here. It's going to be hard to see your progress because the lines are right over it. And it's filled it. And then I'm going to do push-pull. And I'm going to make it 18. Okay. And so for each of these, actually, I will have to trace them.
And the benches really are that simple. In real life, they appear.
They really are.
Yeah.
So,
usually like a little lip or something could give them a little more definition, but this building is
straight. They're not, they don't look very comfortable to sit on.
Yeah.
I guess it's, with everything being right angles in this, it was more of an aesthetic decision than perhaps a comfort decision.
Yeah, in studio, we're talking about roofs and parapets and how rarely do you ever see a roof detail like that, but this building has it, right? Where it's an actual
parapet that's narrower.
Oh, there is a parapet here. That's right. Yeah.
There is a parapet which
Okay.
we are actually going to slightly ignore.
Okay.
Oh man. Make sure I select that. Okay. And spin around here.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
For the smaller doorways that we have to hit the X-ray for, my lines that I'm drawing to make the opening keep laying on the floor.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll take a look at that. And my apologies also that I gave you a fairly incomplete drawing to work with here. It didn't include all of the doors. Anyway, we'll finish the benches and we'll take a look. And pull this up. Okay. Uh-oh. Sorry, my mouse just stopped connecting to my computer. Which is a problem, because I need it to do so. All right, well, I have another pointing device, so I'll use that. Now, what happened here? Why did that delete? All right, I gotta do this over again. Having a little technical difficulty here. Sorry. Um, okay, go back. All right. Did that delete? All right, I'll just do this again. Push, pull that up. Okay, so
I can't see what you're doing.
you can't?
I just see a white strip running through the.
Me
Can other
too.
people? Can other
Yeah.
people see it?
Let me try the share again. Sorry, folks.
Yeah. It just had like a white.
Yeah,
line running
I was
through.
having a weird display myself, so I was wondering what was going on. Can you see the full screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties, just slight ones. Okay, so a couple last things. I will confess, I did not draw the doors to the restroom and a lot of the other little doors. And David, we established that the door, so what we're going to do is we're just going to put them in rather quickly. The door is how far off the corner? Each corner of the wall?
I drew them at 7 inches off.
Right, so I'm gonna
Swinging
type
doors.
swinging doors, 7. Okay. Snap, why are you not midpoint? But I okay. Let's draw. Start a line from here, 7 inches. Go up 6'8".
I don't know. I never measured.
Yeah, I can't. There's nothing. It's a little hard to establish that.
I would almost tend to think that they were the same size as tall ones, but I could be
You
completely.
would think. Let's just take a quick look.
Yeah. Just because everything is so regular and ordered in this thing, but I could be completely wrong.
Right. Okay. Come on. Here we go. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right.
You want to show them where you're looking?
Right
there.
here.
Yeah. So the elevation of the door matches the section next to it. All those lines are straight across.
Great. So we'll switch back to sketch. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense that it would do that, even though that's a very tall door.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come up 7 foot 7. Come over 3 feet and down.
6'8" is common, most common door size, at least here in America.
Yeah, 7
But-
foot 7 is a tall door.
Yeah. Yeah. So when in doubt, when you're doing your own door, 6'8" is standard, but you know, architecturally, of course, things could get taller.
Yeah, and they're so consistent with the dimensions in this that we'll just take it that was something that they came up with. That's a very tall door. And the only thing is, like, the only image that I can find of these doors is the very last image. Oh, here it is. Here, where they're recessed into the wall, and it looks like, but I can't tell, it looks like they're wood. So this is what we're going to do for at least these doors on the exterior. And I'm not going to super worry about them, but, you know, let's put them in. And so let me do that. So I'm going to do is I'm going to push, pull. I'm going to push, pull this in halfway. So we'll just say 4. And then I'm going to go to, and hopefully you have this, is wood and wood bamboo, wood cork, wood cherry. I want a light wood.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I did these doors, I pulled them all the way to like 9 inches.
Yeah, but you don't want them.
How can I undo that so I can?
You don't have to undo it. What you could do, I'll do that now. I'll do that for the other one.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just do that. I'm going to come in here, out 7. Up 7 foot 7. Over 3 feet. And down. So yeah, if you push them all the way through, oops, I'll just push it, I'll type 9. There. The easy thing to do, and we like easy, is all you have to do to fill in that door is just draw a single line. Oh, I was proven wrong. Let's draw a rectangle. Rectangle from here to here. And it's sitting a little far back in the wall, but I'm not going to worry about that. We could move it up, but what I'm just going to do, I could move it, but that's, I don't know. I'll double click. I'll use the move tool, and I'll move this. Oh, it's not going to work. It's stuck to it. Yeah, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to apply wood like that, and that will do. Because when we look at this from any distance, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So we don't have to model the door with the door swing. We just, you know, these doors are typically closed. So I'm going to take this, and we continue working on this, but I'd like to move to the roof because the roof is a little tricky. But we're also going to block off the interior. So what I'm going to do is all the walls here are connected, so I'm going to click 3 times, and then I'm going to, so everything is selected, and then I am going to go to the make component up here. And I'm going to call it brilliantly exterior walls. Make sure that replace selection with component is saying so, and I hit create. I can still edit these things, I just have to double click, but what it helps me do is things don't stick to each other. So now I'm going to go in and go over.
I just asked Michael, so including those doors is not a problem? Including those 2 doors that you just made, including them with the walls, that's not a problem as the component?
No.
No? Okay.
The walls are part of the, it's like in modeling, it's more of a hierarchy that unless we wanted, the only reason we might not make them part of the component is if we wanted to do something clever, like put those on a layer so it seemed like the doors were open.
Oh.
But otherwise, we might as well just make it all part of the walls.
Okay. So when you say so things don't stick together, you're talking about future coming things that you're going to do now.
Yes, we're talking about the stuff that comes up next.
Yeah. This is all stuck together, and that's fine with you. And now the next stuff you want separate. Yeah. Okay.
And it can be, you can still work on them, right? You just have to double click, and I can go in and I decide I don't like the wood that I've used. Click on that. I don't have a lot of choices of wood. I am wood veneer. It's really dark. Yeah, it's too dark. I don't like that. Cork. So yeah, so this model is a little bit like, unless there was a really good reason, and I could do this, is I'm not going to worry so much about these interior walls. I'm not going to really look inside here as far as what we're going to do with this project, which is mostly exterior views. We may do one interior view in the lobby. We may try to do a view here in the, this space is the cafe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is real fast, and I'm going to switch to top view. Oops, excuse me, top. And I'm going to pan over slightly. And my lines aren't showing up, so let me switch to X-ray view. Okay. So I'm not going to show the interior of these bathrooms. Go away. So I'm going to just do a rectangle. I need to see both corners of the rectangle. I'm just going to do it from there. And just so I can see what I've just done, I'm going to pull this up, the magic 7'7". And let me turn off X-ray. Okay. And over here, we may do this lounge, but I'm going to do this as another rectangle. And then I'm going to do one last one over here at this storage area. So these are the two bathrooms. This is the area that I believe they store the furniture that for the exterior. Let me just go back to top view. Okay. And there. Okay, rectangle. And push pull this up. Seven foot seven. Okay. And so I'm going to call all of this, I'm going to make these into a component as well. And I'm going to hold down the shift key to select additional. And I'm going to, so I've picked these three things, these three boxes. I can come back in and I can put doors in them later, but I'm going to right click and I'm going to make it a component, or I can do this off the toolbar up here.
I have a
I'm gonna,
question. I did mine as like regular walls. Is that
Right.
okay, or should I just
That's
make
fine.
them to?
So
Okay.
I'm actually, at this point, I'm a little bit like interested in speeding up the process.
Okay.
So that's fine. That's fine. Don't you? I'm definitely taking some liberties with this model where there's stuff that I really care about, and I really like went to looking a lot at the photographs that were produced, figuring that really what we want to get out of this SketchUp model, maybe some diagrams, which we'll work on at the end, but basically we want to see views of the principal spaces, the building against the landscape, particularly this courtyard here. So I'm going to call these guys service spaces. And create. Okay. All right. So bit by bit, this model is coming together. Okay. So I'm going to do one last thing, and then we're going to attack the roof, but we'll take a break. So if you look at your section, here, you see there is underneath the roof structure, there's this area that we call the plenum, which most likely in this case is where they house the HVAC systems, so particularly here air conditioning systems. So I'm going to put that in, and then we're going to do the roof slab as a separate element on top. Excuse me. So let me switch back and there's a couple ways I could do this. I'm going to do it to the edge. And I'm going to push-pull this all the way across. My mistake. I have to move that down. I could make this the roof slab as well, but just... Okay, and that was, I did it the full height, and I didn't want to do that. So what I will do is let me refer to my section again. And we're going to take off 1 foot 7 inches. It's a little jammed together here, the dimension lines. But the distance from the top of the wall, the parapet, to the slab for the roof is 1 foot. And then the roof slab itself is 7 inches. So I'm going to so what I have to do is I'm going to push that object that I just created down 1 foot 7 inches. So push this down and type 1 foot 7. Okay. And then the last piece is I'm going to pull it across here. I'm going to divide it with a line there. Hopefully that worked. And then I should be able to press pull this guy. There. Okay, so that, and then I'm going to double click this, triple click this, and again, I'm going to make it a component, and I'm going to call it soffit. Okay, all these components, so that what I can do now is I can very easily, if I want to see what's going on underneath, I can click on this, right-click, hide, click on this, right-click, hide, and that reveals the floor plan again. And I can go to edit and undo hide. Edit, undo, hide.
Just a quick question. How high was that roof again?
This last piece I put in is actually the space between the ceiling and the underside of the roof slab. The roof is, and these are all in I posted this on the Canvas site.
Okay.
These guys. So, but yeah, so you asked. So the distance to the underside of the roof is, I estimated 9 foot 11 inches. So what I did was the bottom of the object I just created is up here at 7 foot 7, like so much else in this design.
Mm-hmm.
And then I accidentally pulled it up too far. It really should have only been 2 foot 4 inches thick. That's the distance from here to here, 2 foot 4. And then we're going to come back later and I'm going to do the roof slab that's 7 inches thick. And then we'll be almost done with most of the architecture of this building. Okay, but I'd like to take a little break now. But if there are any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I'm going to save my work.
Just one.
Yes.
With the I've tried to keep up, but with the one of the doors I can't get to open. It keeps making a line on the floor instead of on the wall. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Is it one of the swinging doors? Or is it one of the big openings?
One of the big openings. The ones that don't really have the you gotta put it on invisible, not invisible. What's it called? X-ray to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps making the line on the floor instead of going up on the wall.
You might have to show that to me. You just have to pull it, be in a good view where it's really vertical and really pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure it's turning blue, that it's going up in the blue direction.
Okay, it keeps going green. Okay.
Yeah, so that's telling you it's going the wrong way. You want it to go blue.
Okay.
Okay, so so I just saved this. By the way, how you save it is 2017 format is you go File and you have to do a little Save As, and I am going to save it as 2017. Already exists. I'm going to say yes.
Professor Michael.
Great. So we'll take a break. I'll stop the recording, and we'll pick up in 10 minutes. And I don't know, David, you want to go over a little bit of AutoCAD, and then we'll pick up with the roof.
Whatever you think, or we could do that at 4 o'clock. And whatever you think is fine either way.
Let's get a little variety in there. Let's get a little AutoCAD. We're at a good stopping place for this model.
Okay.
There's things that still need to be done to it, but really the big thing that has to go right is the roof, particularly the roof over the courtyard. So it might be nice to take a kind of deep breath and come back to this, and then we'll elaborate.
Sounds good. So 10
Okay.
after?
10 after. It's 3 o'clock right now.
Okay.
Great. So let me
Thank you.
stop the recording, pause the recording.
Kind of similar.
Sorry.
That's okay. Mine was on volume. My volume was up. It kind of scared me. So kind of like the lines in SketchUp, actually, where the light lines signify one thing and the dark lines signify another. The same thing here, all right? These 4 lines are all nice and light. If I double click, and this is exactly where things go wrong for people. Watch what happens when I double click right here. And you see how that line just got dark? And then I could just go PS for paper space. So one more time, and then so right down here, and also that word paper, that's confirming that I'm in paper space. But watch when I double click, and now it's dark. And now this moved to model. So it's telling me that I am now in model space. And I could select all this stuff, I could erase it. And what often happens is people go in there accidentally and they zoom with their wheel and they mess up the scale and things disappear like this. And then they somehow, and what really kind of happens is people will kind of be getting real close like this. They're in paper space, and then they get real close, and then they accidentally double click, and everything looks fine, but then they start moving around like this, and they think they're in paper space, but in fact they're in model space. And they're like, where's my piece of paper? I can't print. So again, then I could just come down here, paper, and then if I zoom out, I could see what happened. I've jumped through the window into model space and I lost my drawing and I lost my scale, okay? And this will happen to you at a certain time in your CAD life. There's no two ways about that. So what I have to do is reconfigure the drawing. So one thing I could easily do is MA for match properties. Being that I know these three viewports are all the same scale, I could select that guy. And now these two, I've selected them. So they are the proper standard scale at 16. Let me mess them up one more time. So now I jump through, zoomed, PS for paper space, select it, and right there, standard scale, it says custom. That means there's no scale, right? Don't really pay attention to annotation scale. That's not so important. Don't pay attention to custom scale. You care about the standard scale. And it should be, for our project, it should be a 1/16 of an inch. So I could scroll down and locate 1/16 of an inch. So now it is the proper scale, but my drawing is gone. So that doesn't really help me. So the way to solve the problem, double click the wheel, and now I could see everything. Bring your drawing front and center. PS for paper space. I could select and do it there, but it's quicker and less work to MA match properties. Did that work? MA match properties, 1, 2. Let's select it and see if it worked. Yes, that works. So now we are at the right scale. So now I'll do it one more time. Double click the wheel, or Z for zoom, extents. I could see everything. Now I want this guy, and holding the wheel down is the pan. So if you have a wheel, that's very handy. If you don't have it, I guess it might be P for pan, I'm not sure. So now I center this guy up, back to paper, MA to match properties. And now they are back. So now I could select all three. They are viewports, and this says they are all at 16th. If one of them was incorrect, this would say varies, but this is confirming that they're all correct for me, okay? Now, the only other thing that is not properly correct here, when I originally set this up, or Michael set it up, we both kind of worked on it, we had everything nicely aligned. So I'm gonna do that now. So I'm gonna get back to my X lines, XL, enter, V, enter. And you, for our purposes, you could do this by eye, but this is how you would really do it. So now I have my section located, right hand, left hand, and then I can, so I'm gonna move it by eye, really. So what I have to do is move this building so this wall aligns with my section. So I'm going to double click to get inside again, but now I am not going to scroll. If I scroll at all, it will mess up my scale. So I'm just going to push down and drag it over. And then PS for paper space. So that is not precise. What I could do, I could M for move, pick up the viewport at this point, and then move it that last fraction of an inch. So now my section and my plan are nicely aligned. So I could get rid of these guys. One more time, XL, enter, H for horizontal. And let's do the walls now. Let's do the two plans, top and bottom. And this, so we can see that my roof walls should align with my floor walls. So I'm gonna zoom in a fair amount. Well, I'll keep it right about here so I can make sure that I'm in, so I know where I am. Am I in paper space or model space? That's what happens when you zoom in so much and you can't see these lines, then you could easily lose track. So come in a little bit, double click, the line went thick, And you have to be careful because now I could erase these things. So I'm not going to scroll, push with the hand, get it up. That looks good. PS for paper space. And now I could just M for move, pick up the viewport, and move it up. So now my plans are perfectly aligned, left to right, and my section and my floor plan are perfectly aligned. All right, so that was really, the moral of the story is when you're zooming in, basically when you're looking at this piece of paper, there's no reason ever to really zoom in like this. That's really when it all goes wrong. You should always be able to see your viewports, I would say. Like, I can't think why you wouldn't see them. You know, in model space, you really zoom in a ton. But here, it's better if you could see your piece of paper, see your viewports. So if I come in, double click, now I can't see. Now I'm unaware that I'm in model space, unless I'm paying attention to that. But it was a mistake, you know? So I'm looking through the window into model space and said, uh-oh, messed it up. Now I'm in paper space, double click, zoom extents, lost my plan, double click the wheel, and there it is. PS for paper space, X line, H for vertical, H for horizontal. Actually, let's get this thing to the right scale first, right? So I'll just select. There's my custom, which means no scale. And we're 16th. There. Double click without scrolling. Align it as best I can. Back out of paper. Now I could, to get it truly perfect, M is for move. Pick up the viewport. So now I'm not moving my plan. I'm actually moving that viewport because it's a fraction of an inch, and that's not a problem. So I've moved these viewports a little bit, just tiny amounts. All right. So very technical, but very important. Just like those LT scales, you know, just annoying, but just necessary. Once you lose track of your drawings in paper space, they're gone. So actually, right there, I lost my roof plan text. So it did affect it actually. So I'm going to expand that a little bit there. And actually, where's my floor plan text for that matter? There it is. So yeah, I got to zoom out and always look at things. Okay. So two of you had this issue. Understandably, it's very understandable. It will happen to all of you, but it's really a pain to try to tell somebody how to correct this over Zoom. So that's why I'm showing it, so that you could be aware of it, avoid it. And if you do end up in this situation, you could repair it. But my biggest advice is when you're in paper space, just see the whole paper. You rarely need to, you know, I zoom in like that when I'm in model space, not when I'm in paper space. There's really no reason for it. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I always, oh, I'm sorry.
go on, Michael.
I always put you're going to spend about 90% of your time in AutoCAD in model space doing your drafting. Paper space is just for really laying things out. It's it's for preparing this, particularly if you have multiple views like this sheet, it's preparing it to be printed out. And each of these windows, these viewports, are like windows back into model space. So the big thing is keep track of where you are. You should really only be typically in the paper space tab when you're getting ready to print things out. Any drafting you do, for the most part, it's going to be model space. You're going to be in model space.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. This has been around a long time. It is confusing. It's like these two coexisting worlds.
Mhm.
And particularly when we're tracing a drawing, it'll look really similar. They'll look, the two will look very, very similar. So people
Right.
who have gotten confused by this, there's no blame, totally understand that you might, because usually you can tell you're in model space because you get a black background. But
Yeah.
because the images are white, yeah. So if you freeze the images here, they'll still be white.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. So.
But when we go into, you can see like the typical background in model space is black.
Hmm.
That's the big giveaway.
Yeah. And usually these aren't here because you're doing your own work. Once, yeah, even in professional practice, you do some tracing perhaps, but it's not so common. Typically, these images aren't here, so that, like Michael's saying, that white background is making it doubly confusing. Yeah, but just when you're in paper space, go easy. Don't don't mess around with these things. Just keep an eye on everything. You don't want your viewports overlapping. Keep things nice and neat, basically, in paper space, and just proceed with caution. Takes practice to get everything aligned and whatnot, and once it gets messed up, it could be confusing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the hatches had like little squares in them. The
Mhm.
little squares were coming from the sections, and because the sections are because of the images,
It was because
I
of the
can't
letters.
like figure how to do the hatches without the little squares.
Yeah, what you do is they're on the same layer as the image, so freeze the image layer, and they'll go away. And
Yeah.
then your hashes.
So freeze it, then do the hatch, and then
Yep.
it should.
And then you should not have the problem with those little letters coming through.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope.
Yeah, I don't think so. Those images are causing complications with the hatching. So yeah, it's best to. So that's again what I did. That's why I just I copied this guy over here. I think when I was working with somebody, I said just copy and keep a version. So let me see. What I did was I copied this guy, brought him over there, put him on the 0 layer, and then I could turn off the image layer. Now I do my hatches. I come over here, I see, oh, this is running up and down, so I can see and get the images out of the way when it's time to hatch. They've caused numerous complications.
Yeah, they tend to do that. And yeah, so the section lines are on the same layer as the image.
Yeah, and it'd be a good idea, for the portfolio, is to move the two that we need actually. So we're doing this section, BB. So you could select these guys and move them to one of our layers that will display. Wouldn't you'd agree, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just remember, obviously, to have them frozen or turned off when you apply the hatch.
Well, these could stay on.
Not while you're hatching, no.
Why not?
It'll hatch around the letters.
Well, I mean, that's why it's how it's designed to do. I mean, it's
true.
It's kind of doing it for a good reason.
Like to do it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Either way,
I agree with you. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
It wouldn't be the end of the world if the hatch ran through it because the hatch is so light, but that is how CAD was told to do it, was to hatch around letters and numbers and things. So, but in general, for the portfolio, my point was really that it's good to have section marks. So,
It is.
yeah, so it's great that Michael gave us all the section marks so that we could understand the building, but we only want these two really on your sheet.
So we won't be doing the rest of the sections that they're on the CAD?
No,
No.
one
Okay.
section's enough, especially for this building because they're all so similar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool section, but 4 of them is a little overkill. Any other questions about CAD before we jump back to SketchUp? Everybody's getting ready to wrap it
I
up
have
for
one
Sunday.
question.
I
Yep.
have a
Do we-
small,
Hold on, Essa first, I heard. Yeah.
Are we supposed to do this section specifically?
If you did another one, it's okay. You just have to jump into paper space and get it to display. So I don't really care which section it is, but this one is set up with the text there and set up here. So this is also a good point. That's a good question. In case you did another one, let me just turn back on my images quickly. So if you did another one, so what I would do, so this is again tricky, and it goes exactly to what I was saying, is you're going to come in here, double click, and now without scrolling, if you have a scroll, don't scroll. I'm just going to press on the wheel, and I'm going to start moving this thing up. And you see how it goes left and right? Now I'm going to hold the shift key, and now it's locked in. I could only go left and right, up and down. I can't go anywhere else. So then I could just take this section and push it up until, or down, down, down. I don't know where my drawings went. They're not showing here. But this is how you would have to get rid of this section to bring in the next section. And then I let go. There it is. So because I had the wheel pushed down, the image wasn't showing.
The images don't show when the wheel's pushed down. Right?
Yeah. See that? I just pushed it down.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to move it, but I don't want to be able to move like this. So I'm just going to press shift right now, and it's locked in. If I had a drawing there. So let me just go down a little bit. So wheel, down, holding the shift, let go of shift, let go of wheel. So if this is your section, then we could get rid of, again, we could get rid of the images. So that's one section. And then I want to get to the other section, push, shift, and wherever my other section is, there it is. Paper space. And then it's always good when you're messing around, adjusting viewports, always good to keep an eye on things down there. So this property box is really, it should always be there, in my opinion. It's just full of important information. If nothing else, just when things are weird, I would come here and just confirm that's only 2 lines. Like if something wasn't printing right, there might be another line buried under there. So I always like to see, that this is confirming what I expect I drew. If things are printing or showing weird, the property box could tell you like, uh-oh, that's supposed to be 2 lines. Why does it say 4? And that'll help you, do your detective work for why things don't look the way they should look. Was there another question?
Yeah, so I did whatever corrections you had made on my sketch.
Yeah.
On the first drawing, it says that where the threshold is, there is no hatch. Now, there is a hatch, but the lines are because they go in the same direction like the wall goes, so it looks like there is no hatch in there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
so I tried to redo it, maybe it wasn't working, but it's right on the line, so it looks like it's empty.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
One I meant to talk about that, and we didn't. When I was talking about hatches, important to know, and it could, not that that's a problem what you're describing, that just happens. So what Romina is explaining, let me just show you quickly. So hatch. So that belongs there, this all gets filled in. And what I was saying when I was looking at, and I said it to a few of you, right here, that's the threshold, and it appears empty to me. I was saying, I said it to quite a few people, I said, I think you missed your hatch in the threshold. So let's just select this and get it looking the way it should roughly. So scale, I forget what the scale was, not that big.
72.
72?
Mm-hmm.
And then get the angle to where we want it to be, which would be 45. Yeah, well, actually, the way I did this doesn't really. So just to, it's an important point, and it's not that you have to resolve what you were just asking me about, Romina, or anyone else, but if the line is not appearing in there, one way to adjust a hatch is to select it and then set the origin here. So if lines aren't starting where you want them to start, so right now, let's say this hatch begins, see how close it is right there? So if I say set origin to the hatch, now it just moved it. It just started there. And that's why I did this. I don't think I showed you all, but some hatches like bricks are very important because we don't start with a half a brick, right? So select set origin, and that's where the whole hatch goes out. That's the origin of the hatch. So bricks, cinder block, CMU, cinder blocks, very important. And this less important, but you can see the difference still. Set origin, let's, if we move it to this side, here it's just a visual thing, really. It's not, you could get away with it wherever you set it here pretty much, but if you're not liking the way it's aligning, that's available. Any others? CAD questions? So what's more fun, CAD or SketchUp?
They're both.
CAD's more fun?
I kind of like SketchUp a little more.
I like more SketchUp, but I feel like AutoCAD is easier.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
I kind of draw on the SketchUp like I draw on CAD, so I like get confused. I press escape and like there is no, it's not doing anything. So.
Yeah, and it's confusing because SketchUp looked at AutoCAD quite a bit to make things somewhat similar. So there are things that are a lot like AutoCAD, and then there are things that are not, and it's confusing. So it takes some getting used to, and there are so many variations. Actually, this is something you might want to look at over the weekend. There's a little cheat sheet. I was going to do more for SketchUp, and let me share my screen. So let's see. Share screen.
And I actually do have a SketchUp video in there.
Yes.
As well, which is kind of just a down and dirty, like how to use the tools. I don't have nearly as much experience as Michael does with the actual creation of a model, but I do know my way around it. So you might find my, I think I made it a video, right? Yeah,
Yes,
I did.
You did. It's a good video.
Thank you.
One thing you might look at is there's a lot on this sheet. This is a reference card. And on the one side, it explains what all these icons mean. Some of them are useful, some of them are fairly useless. But then these are all the variations that you can do depending on what keys you use. So it's tricky. SketchUp, I really think the people, having followed SketchUp for many years, was they wanted 3D modeling, which is a complex thing to do, to seem as simple as possible. But in fact, you're doing quite complex things in 3D modeling, even of a relatively simple building. So a lot about SketchUp was, no, we're going to make this 3D modeling program as easy as possible, relatively speaking. And they have their quirks. But I find it's a great way of getting started with visualizing in 3 dimensions. It's not the be all and end all, but it'll solve a lot of your issues. Also, in this particular exercise, I am not going over all the commands and variations. We'll do that when you start working on your individual case studies, and I'll be doing a more thorough description of all the different things that go on in SketchUp. So I'm skipping a lot of things. I'm just going to the tools that we need for the model we're working on in the current case study. Okay, let me go back to, SketchUp. Here we are, SketchUp. Okay. Oh, I should probably pull this soffit all the way over here. So I'm going to just double click it and push pull this to there. Okay. And then I'm pick the select button and select anywhere outside, and that takes me out of that. So yeah, so this model, I have to make some changes. It's sort of suggesting a threshold that isn't really there, but, and you can see that detail in the images. Well, actually, no, there is a little threshold. Look at that, right here. See how the boards are coming across? So it looks almost seamless, but it's not quite. Okay, so let's get back to SketchUp. Do zoom all. So we're getting to the home stretch as far as the overall architecture. We're not done with this model by a long shot, but we're getting pretty close. So a couple things with this is we want to get the roof. It's not that important over the enclosed spaces, but the courtyard roof is really critical because that's one of the big elements of this design. So we'll do the simpler part, which is the roofs over the enclosed spaces. So I'm going to switch to a top view. Whoops. Why did I just lose some stuff here? Okay, and extents. So I'm going to pull in. I'm going to do this by doing a line, or I could do two overlapping rectangles. Let's do it. Let's try to make it easy. So I'm going to do a rectangle. From this corner I'm sorry. I hope I'm not giving people motion sickness here. Okay, that wasn't quite what oh, it went snapped to the wrong place. Let's try that again. So let's do a U for undo. Okay, and then I'm going to do another one from, oh, I did that in the wrong place. Let's see. And then this last one over here. Be careful where it's snapping. Okay. And now, let's see, the roof, I determined the roof slab thickness was 7 inches. Just, this is my reference. 7 inches, yes. Go back. And I'm going to push pull this. Type 7. If I double click, it'll extrude it by the same amount as the previous. Okay, and then there's one last thing that I want to do here, which is these little ribs coming off. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to use the Move Copy tool. Hope this is going to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm going to do a copy, I hit the Option or the Control key on, depending on what you're using, a Mac or a PC. And I'm going to take that over, and that is going to be 9 inches. And I will know I'm successful. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, where I'm going to do Control. I'm going to do Move. I'm going to pick this line. I'm going to hold or tap the Control key and come over here, 9 inches. Okay, so this gives me the final touches on the enclosed. There's a little thing where there is a parapet wall that comes up in these two places. So I'm going to pull this up to there, and this up to here. And that gives us now the roof as it is over the existing interior space, less or more. So I'm going to now click 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to right click, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it a component. And brilliantly, I'm going to call this roof. Create. So I did these guys kind of quickly, but this is, if you look at the roof plan, this is, and some of the axonometrics, that these parapet walls extend. And for the sake of simplicity, because we really won't see them that closely, if you look at your plans, the parapet walls are actually narrower than the walls below. So you see, this is the wall coming up. It's only about 4 inches thick, but I said just for simplicity's sake, we're going to make it the same depth as the walls below. So this is one where I'm doing a little simplification of the model, trying to make it, more, just a little easier to work with. I built the model the first time, and I wasted a lot of time over getting these parapet walls just right. And I decided, let's not do that. That was just like, we're not going to really see them that clearly. So they're a little chunky, but they're not that bad. Okay, we're almost done. Almost. So now I'm going to do a slightly different way. I'm going to do the roof over the courtyard. And I'm going to start with drawing a rectangle. Okay. And I'm going to switch to my top view. Let's see how well this works. Top view. Okay. And let's see if the X-ray will help us. Now what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to create a couple lines. And let me also, there are layers in this. So I'm going to go to it. In the new version, they call it tags, which is really annoying. And I am going to turn on the dashed line layer. I can even, you can't do this, but I'm just showing off. I'm using 2020. I can have it display as a dashed line. Woohoo, big deal. This is what the folks at that make SketchUp say. Look at this. This is worth $500 a year to be able to have dashed lines when you didn't have dashed lines before. We can live without dashed lines, but it just makes it graphically a little clearer. Okay, so what I need to do, I'm going to turn this X-ray view off, is I'm just going to draw some guidelines. And I'm going to snap to the midpoint here. And I don't have to pull it all the way across, but I will pull it all the way across to midpoint here. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here till it highlights the blue dot of midpoint and the word comes up. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, so these will guide the circle. This is a little, now this is going to be a little tricky, but let's try this again now, where I'm going to go back to top view, X-ray view. Really, I should probably pull off the plan the diameter of the circle. The circle is really important. But let me, and let me do this. So I'm also going to switch camera, parallel. Okay. I just did a little subtle, it's no longer in perspective, it's in parallel view. It's in an axonometric view. So that just takes out the perspective. And let me just go back to top view. Okay, and now I'm going to turn on X-ray. And I am going to draw a circle. Now watch me do this, and then you do it yourself. And I have a brief explanation here about SketchUp. Even though you can do curves in SketchUp, they look like curves, circles, and arcs, and all kinds of goofy shapes. In fact, they're made up of segments of lines. There is no such thing as an absolutely true curve in SketchUp. They're imitations. There are a bunch of lines. So to make it confusing, a circle is really just a multi-sided polygon. The default number that you get, I think, is 24 segments that make up the circle. When we actually start looking at perspective views, you'll see those segments. We don't want to see those segments. So when I start the circle, before I do anything else, it's prompting me for number of sides, and I'm going to type at least 72. Oh, what the heck? I'm going to type 96. It means a very fine circle because this is really important. So the number of sides is important. I'll show you what the circle looks like if I don't do a lot of sides, but don't do this. I'll just do 12. I'm going to draw a circle now. And you see, that doesn't look like a circle. It looks pretty bad. Let's just forget about it. Let's put it back at about number of sides 96. And now we're going to get a much smoother circle. And I just want to make sure, yep, it's going here. Let me switch back to top view. And then I'm going to, yay. Sorry, I'm very happy. It picked up the information from below, but kept it on this level, up on the top of the roof. I'll do that. Would you like me to do that again? Yes, no, maybe. I can only see a few of you want to share the screen. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, good. I saw thumbs up from the people I could see.
It was good. So.
It's good. It was good. It was great. It was fantastic. Anyway, all right. Let's clean this up now. I'm just going to get rid of these extra line segments. I don't need them. I'm going to hold down the Shift key. So I don't really need this cross. I could have put it on a separate layer and made it go away. And then I'm going to right click and erase. Yes. And you can see now by putting that number of sides in, it's a really smooth circle, which is what we want. And now what we're going to do is really simple. If everything is working, and it looks like it is, I'm going to click on the circle, and I'm going to delete that part of it. Just click once and delete it. Erase it. Bam. We have to get a thickness in, but we're almost there. We're getting very, very close at this point. Deep breath. We're almost there. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to take this and give it a thickness. So I'm going to use the push-pull tool. I established that the concrete slab is 7 inches thick. So I'm going to push-pull this down, and I'm going to type 7. Okay, and we're almost there. Last little refinement is I'm going to take the circle and I'm going to offset it. So I'm going to select the circle. I'm going to use the offset tool, and I'm going to go out, okay, in that, away 4 inches. And then I'm going to, I believe then this guy needs to be 12 inches thick. Okay, so I want to pull up the parapet, then I'm going to move the roof down. I could do that in another order. So I have to be really careful in my selection. Push-pull this up. And I'm going to type 12. Okay, oh, it's beautiful. I only have one thing left now, which is to move, right now it's sitting on the top. I need to move it down. So I'm going to now try to select everything, and I should be able to do that because everything else around it is a component. So I'm going to click 3 times, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get the move tool, and I'm going to go in this corner, and I am going to start pushing downwards. This is a little tricky. I actually want to move. Actually, no, I need to really set up the view a little bit better, so let me escape. Let me try this again. I need to be looking at it like this. So once again, triple click. I could make it into a component now. That might be a little bit easier. Move. And I'm going to gesture downwards. Really should be 12 inches, but I'll do 12. And we're almost done. And I'm going to select this, triple click it again, and I'm going to make it a component. And I'm going to do it as courtyard roof. Yay. Okay, let me zoom out. So I'm still in parallel projection. I can go back, I can turn off some of these layers. Okay. All right, so the architecture is essentially done. We still have a lot of other stuff to do, but we've got now pretty much The basic model, the walls, the floor, the roof is all in place. So this is great because this is where I wanted to get to. What we will pick up with, we can do it now. I keep thinking this is Friday. It's Thursday. I feel like it's Friday. It's a kind of a Friday. Is we're going to start working on some of the doors, the sliding doors that are on the exterior. So I'll pat myself on the back, but if you've been following me, this is a nicely constructed SketchUp model. It's been neatly done with precision. It has things organized in components. There are layers in SketchUp, but I find those less useful when you're doing 3D modeling than when you're doing 2D drafting. So generally, because things exist, it's better to make them into components than use layers. But you could put things on layers. Like we could create a layer or a tag, call it roof, and put all these guys on one roof. Let me just show you what that's like. You don't have to do this. So I'm going to go to tags. I'm going to add a layer. And I'm going to call it roof. Okay, and I'm going to select this, shift, select this, and I'm going to put it whoops. Okay, why am I not? Okay. Entity info. I have to go to entity info. This is a lot like properties. It's very much like properties in and very useful like properties in AutoCAD. So I'm going to select these guys, and they're all, and I'm going to put them on roof. And then I'm going to make roof. I'm going to make make it back to 0. And then I'm going to make, roof. They're gone. I also have to make the soffit on the roof. So I'm going to click on this, and it's untagged, and I'm going to put it on roof. Okay? So I can control layer visibility. So if I want to have an image like this, where I want to see the building without the roof, all I have to do is activate the roof layer. There it is. There it isn't. There's also a hide command, but this is a lot more effective. Okay? So this is a lot like layers in AutoCAD. Generally, we'll want the roof on, but there may be times where we want it off or we want to isolate it. Okay. What I'd like to do now is, we're not going to do any more modeling. We'll save that for Monday. On Monday, what we're going to do, Tuesday, today's Thursday, not Friday, and the next time we see each other is going to be Tuesday. So if you can turn this in to me with the next thing I'm going to do, that's all I'm asking for. I just want to see where people are, if you're having problems, anything, just let me know. So I'm just going to look at your SketchUp models. This is this interim review that's this model that's due on Sunday is really will only count a relatively small fraction of your final grade for the SketchUp model. So let me go back. So the things that we'll start doing on Monday, Tuesday, whatever day, are some of these doors, like this door, the sliding door. That's a really important feature. These louvered doors over here, we'll make those. And then we'll get into textures, materials, so we'll be able to do a deck, the wood deck, and that will require Photoshop. So I have a little piece that people have asked me about Photoshop. So you want to go to Adobe, get the student version of Adobe Creative Cloud. It'd be really great if by next week you have Adobe Creative Cloud and you've got Photoshop as well as InDesign as well as Illustrator all downloaded. Adobe gives you a free, very limited 7-day trial, and then they charge you per month. So for your first year, it's $20 a month, which is annoying, and then it goes up. They should make it very easy. You just have to email them from a student account. As long as you're tied to an EDU or other student account, you'll be able to qualify. The full retail price is like right now $55 or $60. So you're getting it at almost a third of what people would pay for these programs. And you can, although I've not done this, you can stop the subscription. So we'll need a little bit of Photoshop to work with the materials on Monday, but I want to do Tuesday. I want to do a little bit more. Then we'll put in some furniture. We'll make one piece of furniture, but we'll also put in some furniture, and then we'll wrap up the SketchUp component. Okay, so I want to do one thing here. I'm going to go to camera. I'm going to go back to perspective. And one of the things that I want to do is, you see this little standing man? That's called position camera. And what I want to do is I want to put this standing man here. Looking into the courtyard to those two doors. And then I hold down my main mouse button and I can pivot around. Okay, and I'm going to look actually more at this corner. Yeah. And I'm going to do one other thing. I want to change my view. So any of you who've done photography, which I don't know how many of you have, if you have a zoom lens on your camera, you can adjust it. So if you want to take in more information, get a wider angle of view, you adjust it. So what I'm going to do is go to camera. Come on, please. Camera? No. Oh, come on. Why are you not letting me do that? Oh, let me pick select, camera. And I'm going to go to field of view. Right now, for some reason, it says 57 millimeters, which is something we really don't want. If you, standard views are around 50 millimeters or 35 millimeters, but we want to see a lot. So actually the number goes down. I know if you haven't done photography, these numbers, but what we want is I want to type in 18 mm. And we're going to get a much wider angle. It's going to be more dramatic. I'm going to back up a little bit. That's the walk tool. So we can take in a lot more of this space. That may be going a little too far, but yeah, that might be, it's a little distorted. but maybe that's okay. We can adjust that field of view. So we'll work on the doors in here next time. And what I want you to do is when you get a view that you like, I may adjust this slightly. My eye height is too low. I pick the eyeball to look around, but I also adjust the eye height, and I want to make that typically standing height 5'6". That's the typical eye level of an adult. There, that's a little bit better. And maybe I really want to focus on this curve. I can adjust this. So camera field of view, 18 may have been going a little too far. So maybe I want to do more like 28. And it also changes the position, unfortunately. So I'm going to walk back in. That's a little more reasonable. I want to check my eye height is too high. So I'm going to pick on that. I'm going to make that 5'6". There, I kind of like that view. When you get a view that you really like in SketchUp, you need to do the following. And I'll be looking for this. I'd like to see it in the stuff that you submit on Sunday, but I definitely want to see this in the final model, in the final submission that we'll be doing in a week. Okay, so I'm going to go into this, where I'm going to go to scenes. It may take a moment to find it. And I'm going to add this thing. It's basically captures a camera view. I'm going to add a scene. I'm going to rename it. Comes up down here, view into courtyard. I'm going to hit the enter key. And what's really cool is this is like a camera view. As we modify and add things to this view, it will update. And you can control a lot of things. I'm going to show you because this is something I like to do, and I'll just leave you with this. You don't have to do this. So I am going to change this to be late, early in the morning. Here we go. Interesting shadows. And I'm going to hit update scene. And these are all the things that update with it. And then I am going to add a scene, which is exactly the same view. And I am going to switch it, instead of morning, late in the day. Maybe not sunset, but close to it. And I am going to make sure that that is updated. And where are they? They should be appearing at the top of my screen, but I don't see them. Oh, here we go. View into courtyard. So you get an animated sun study in perspective. So you can, it was a little fast, but you can see how the sun behaves throughout the day at this particular time of year, which is November. And I should rename this and call it return. So I can use the tabs, or I can use this tool over here. For people like me and David, like being able to do a quick sun study like this is pretty phenomenal to actually see. And we could do it at any time of the year. I already went through the rather agonizing procedure of locating it accurately in Saudi Arabia, which was very unpleasant. I can show you later how to manually do that. So it is correct as far as its location geographically in the sunrise and sunset. So this may not be any big deal for people that are used to animation, but from a designer's point of view, we can see a lot of information really quickly, including if the building is oriented correctly, that, you know, how the sun is going to hit this courtyard.
Michael, could I ask a question? Was that
Yeah.
annoying just because of SketchUp? Is that when you say that was tedious or painful? It's
Yeah.
just behind the scenes in SketchUp. It's kind of how it
For
is?
some reason, it used to be very, very smooth when it was part of Google. For a long time, Google owned SketchUp, and then they sold it off, and it completely integrated with Google Maps. So all you had to do was click on a button, click on a map, and bam, you were done locating it. And now it doesn't work. When you try to geolocate, like when I try to do this, and I may be proven wrong, you can, if you hover over the little light bulb down there, manually geographically located. I located it in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. But if I actually do this, manually, I'm going to clear location. I'm going to add location. This doesn't work. Sign in to use this feature. When I hit sign in, nothing happens. This is not good. So it's a real pain in the buttocks. Oops. Let me just see if I can do undo clear location. Great. Yeah, when it was part of Google, it was much better. Now it's this Trimble company, and they're not very good. So I had to sit there and manually put in the longitude and latitude. So this is accurate for Saudi Arabia, and we can see stuff right now. Like, wow, okay, part of the courtyard here, this side, gets no sun. Now, granted, it's November. In high summer, it might be a different story. So we can quickly plug in these different times of year. We wouldn't do every time of year, but we do certainly something in June when the sun is at its highest. And there we'd be getting a very vertical sunlight. So this is where I really like SketchUp. People look down on SketchUp. They use more complicated modelers. They use something called rhinoceros, or you do a full building information model, which is fantastic, but a lot of work in something like Revit. But SketchUp can solve some really important preliminary design questions, like what's the sunlight like coming into my building? And we can do it really quickly. And we were able to, now granted, this building was not complicated. We've modeled the majority of this building pretty rapidly for a lot of folks where, you know, this is your first experience using SketchUp. So I'm big. I like SketchUp. I concede that it can't do everything, but it can do quite a bit as far as computer modeling. So that's my little yay for SketchUp. So what we'll do from here is we're going to make windows and doors. Actually, they're doors. Components. We're going to make a table, a really simple table, and we're going to import some furniture. So we're just going to get a little more practice working with SketchUp. And so that's what, and then we'll work with materials. That will be next week. So I look forward to seeing your SketchUp models, and I want to stop and see if there are any questions.
So for Sunday, we have to finish up with the SketchUp, whatever we have done so far, and then I guess complete the AutoCAD, whatever things we need to complete. And do we post that on like week 3, or do we post that? I know the SketchUp is on week 3, but the AutoCAD was on model 2, I think.
it
Or
should be.
are they all on Model 3?
Let's see. Let me do this. Let me make sure.
It looks like CAD is week 2 and SketchUp is week 3. Yeah, I left the CAD. The CAD says September 27th, but I left it in module
That's
2.
what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I did send another file on the CAD.
Yeah, I'll go
whatever.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically it'd be nice if Michael and I could not have to go back to the old drop boxes, but in this case, because it was my mistake and I had the 27th rather than the 20th, I'll just go back to that CAD one for all the CAD stuff, and I'll just download it all again. And if it's different, I'll regrade it. So everybody has a chance for a new grade for CAD.
Okay.
And Michael will handle SketchUp in module 3.
So it's in module 3. So yeah, we're wrapping up module 2 and we're beginning module 3. So you're going to have a, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a moment. This happens. So final PDF for the AutoCAD. And for me, I'm going to be very happy. This is only 100 points. Your final will be 300 points. So this counts. Get in what you have. Mostly this is for me to see where you are in terms of the SketchUp model. So submit your SketchUp models. Try to get to the point that I just finished. Maybe you're already there. You don't have to do the seams, but it'd be nice if you did. But I will want to actually have you submit your SketchUp model. If there's and it's for me to understand where folks are.
And to look at craftsmanship, so more than reaching a specific location. Like it sounds like Michael's not going to penalize you if you're not as far as others, but the craftsmanship really has to be right.
Yeah, we really, particularly with this, it's just like the physical world, and it's just like AutoCAD. An imprecise SketchUp model is going to present a lot of problems down the road. And particularly when we're dealing with a building whose whole aesthetic is precision and alignment, we really want to make sure that you have things accurately done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is, and I want you to get used to, a lot of people when they use SketchUp think, oh, it's all very loosey-goosey and, you know, you kind of mush things around, and it's like, no. I mean, you could, but that's not going to be professional quality work. That's what we're striving for. I mean, you can go in SketchUp and just have a great time playing around with it, but this is where we're focused and dedicated here.
Any other questions about anything? And we will be starting Adobe not next week, but the week after. But get the Adobe so you could follow Michael with some custom materials.
And let's play it. Let's save that money from Adobe. Download it. You can log in. You get a 7 days free. That'll take you to the end of the month, and then you can start paying for October. So you can pay October, November, December, and say thank you so much, Adobe. That was great. Bye, if you so choose.
Are there any concerns, Michael, with perhaps some of the computers struggling to have Adobe and SketchUp open at the same time? Are they going to have to toggle between them, or? I
don't know. You see, since I don't know what the memory students have on their computers. The one thing that you can do, we're going to be doing really simple, small Adobe files. And SketchUp is going to stay fairly simple. The model is not going to get very complex. One thing that will really speed up your computer if you don't have a lot of memory is turn off shadows. I like shadows on in SketchUp, and you'll want them for your output. But if you find that your computer is lagging a little bit, you can turn the shadows off. I have 12 gigs of memory on my Mac, and I run SketchUp and the Adobe Suite. It's an older version, really smoothly without a hiccup. So it's it's really not, the only things out there that are really consuming are very big AutoCAD files or very, very large SketchUp files. And
Adobe files will get big too.
they will get big.
Yeah, yeah,
Although the one we'll be working on for materials will be quite small.
yeah, yeah.
So you may look at this. You might want to keep track about how much memory and processor is being used.
Yeah,
I would be calm. I would say if you've gotten this far, you'll probably be okay.
mhm. Yeah, I would just, but I'd also recommend like getting the Adobe and paying attention to when it does lag and freeze up. And sometimes it could be for maybe too many programs are open, too many things going on. Before I got my new computer, I was always shutting everything down, shutting the computer down at night. So, you know, these heavier programs are probably new to most of you, new to your computers. So not running everything at once might be a good thing, and only having open what you need, shutting it down at the end of the day, I think is all, you know, you got to be in tune, I'd say, with your computer now, more so than before, perhaps.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And but I think if you've been managing SketchUp and AutoCAD,
Mhm.
the real leap of all the programs we use is Revit and 3D Max and Lumion rendering. Those are incredibly greedy programs and need a really high power computer to run smoothly. So I think you should be okay. We'll also talk about how to keep SketchUp files from getting too big, which can happen.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
About the circle on the roof. When
Yeah.
I do 96, it's still a little
Think jagged,
yeah.
polygonal, because mine looked okay.
Yeah, mine still looks like it's very small, but you can still see it just a little bit.
You
So
might want to, can you show me your screen? Maybe we'll see. It really should look pretty smooth at that point. I'm just going to look at mine. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at mine and
do I share it now? Or
yeah, I would stop my share and you can share it with us.
okay. Where is it? Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, well, it's a dashed line.
It's not supposed to be a dash line?
No, if you're using hidden, you should be using, instead, you should be using the one next to it. Don't use hidden.
Which
No,
way?
up here, up at the top, where you have your toolbars.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and right now you see how one is highlighted in blue? You want to go to the one next to it, the sort of gray translucent box, the X-ray view. That's better.
Okay.
That's what you want. And
It still looks. It still. I'll show you. 96, right? I think. If
yeah,
I'm.
96.
Yeah. You see how it still looks a little.
You type 96 and enter. Did you type enter?
Did I?
You didn't. You have to type enter.
Okay, I typed enter that time. Oh, it works.
That's it.
Thanks.
I wish all those problems were so easily solved. That's it. Yeah, you have to hit the enter key.
Thank you.
All right, great. This recording will be available like tomorrow morning. If you want to have more fun by reviewing this, it'll take me a little time to process a 2.5 hour video, but it should be available. So have a great and productive weekend. Get that CAD done, have some fun with SketchUp, and we'll pick up with SketchUp on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good weekend.
Yeah, bye.
Goodbye.
And I will stop.